Brought to you by my patrons.
Today I'm reviewing something special, an upcoming game with really cool mechanics, an immersive way of crafting and gathering, and of course, stunning visuals. A game made by one single talented developer with big ambitions, Lay of the Land. A voxel-based action-adventure building game made by Thule 1998 over the last 2 years, he thinks. Naturally, I saw this and immediately wanted to review it. And of course, why not give the man who made it a chance to talk in the first place?
I'm Thule 1998, or just Matt, and I'm the developer of Lay of the Land. Lay of the Land is a sandbox adventure game where you use the world to your advantage, fight monsters, build a house, explore. Yeah.
Hi there, welcome to Citizen C. I'm Lunar, and on this channel we not only give you a straight and honest review of games and mods, but we also give the developers themselves a chance to have a word. And if you would like that kind of content in your subscription feed, feel free to give me a little sub so I can feel very validated. But with that all out of the way, let's scratch the surface of Lay of the Land, the ultimate voxel game. In Lay of the Land, you try to journey across a beautiful yet dangerous world with a handful of procedurally generated structures, biomes, and spawning places. And right out of the gate, the game gives you no leeway. You just get plopped into this world and boom. But you've played these kind of games before, be it Minecraft, Vintage Story, other voxel-based games. You start gathering resources from the word go, and then start to craft your first tools. And it's here where the game immediately puts you for a loop. See, the two games I just mentioned usually use a grid of 9 squares to craft a specific pattern to create the tool. In others, like Stardew Valley, it's just a requirement of set ingredients and a simple button press to get the desired outcome. But in Lay of the Land, it's something completely different. You drag the items you want to combine onto the floor from your inventory. You craft what you need. An axe, for example, requires you to pick up some flint, gather some plant fibers for rope, and put a stick on it. Put that all into a pile in front of you, and ta-da, we got our first little tool. Neato.
I wanted crafting to be more than just a UI, and I also still wanted it to be simple. And I wanted all the game systems to be as physicalized as possible. So I thought, how would you go about building something like a bow in the wilderness in real life? And I just simplified the physical interaction with the items just down as simple as possible, but while still being something an action that you do in the world instead of just clicking on a button.
To me, the more impressive part about this is that you literally just drag it out of your inventory and it's just there. No placeholder image before you drop it, just an entity right there, just there, done. I did read the little "how do I craft" pop-up afterwards, but that didn't really help that much. You got an axe, the whole world is your oyster. It's a very, very pretty and dangerous one, but it's an oyster. But for the next step, you're gonna need to build a base, which brings us to the building and gathering part. Coming from other games, I rolled up to the nearest tree and started wailing on it. And to my surprise, it started bleeding and gushing cubes at me. But no matter, I need to build my rustic cabin in the woods, so I ignored the screams and kept on hitting, until the tree got revenge and fell on my head. Little did I know that I already gathered some resources necessary to start laying my literal foundations, as while in games I reviewed previously, you need to collect an arbitrary amount of blocks in order to place them, and then craft buildable blocks later. Here, you just collect voxels, straight up voxels, which you can then use to create your foundation or your house, which is still a sort of arbitrary number collection, but you have far more control. I found myself laying down detailing on a scale on single voxels, which made my little shit cube of a house into a detailed shit cube of a house. I fill it up with a nice shelf to put my not stolen lantern on, I promise, and some chests to put my stuff in, and of course the finishing touches, an IKEA desk and chair, so I can chronicle my many deaths. Besides, should I not want to build one myself, the community has made prefabs of houses and fences, which you can just download and use from the word go.
With the combat, originally it was going to be more survival focused. I guess it kind of drifted towards more just building, focusing on that a bit more, and having the combat and exploration support the building, I guess. So like building originally wasn't even part of the plan. It was going to be more about like combat, but building something that a lot of people wanted and I wanted as well. So I'm like, voxel game, might as well do it. And it's turned out to be like the biggest feature that people like. So I was like, well, that was probably a good idea.
And what an addition it was. Not only did it elevate the game from being just described as an action-adventure game, it gave players another incentive to get invested into their worlds. But it also created the first bit of viral video for the game, causing the project itself to really take off. Soaring to over 500,000 views, it is what tipped me off to this game initially as well. What was some of the major points that you look back upon fondly?
Definitely the initial early access release on Patreon was a super cool moment. It was the first time that anyone had really played the game besides me, and all the feedback has just improved the game so much because of that. Another big moment was definitely when I released the big building video that went kind of viral. It really put the game on people's radar, and the community's been growing really strong since then.
But let us continue into our exploration of our little world. Not everything is as peaceful as it seems. While the world is absolutely stunning and pretty to look at, that does not mean everybody enjoys the scenery. You got a lot of hostile creatures out for your blood specifically. The traditional spiders and skeleton of course, but also weird and scary things lurking and jumping at you the second they get the chance. These mobs, as always, have a chance to drop some neato loot. From the archers dropping their copper-tipped arrows to sword dudes dropping their swords, logically. Because as of right now, you can't actually craft these things. Well, you can, you just can't mine the copper to smelt into bars. Some preset structures, like the observatory, spawn the much needed copper in order to build and craft these new tools that do a lot more damage and gather at an increased rate. In my opinion, mining would not go amiss here. This all makes finding these structures, exploring them, and by extending going into combat a must, and it behooves you to get good at it. And how does it feel actually, that combat? Well, to put it into Minecraft terms, because in all likelihood all you've ever played is Minecraft, it's like pre 1.8 combat. You just can whack the shit out of your dagger to get the desired outcome. Alternatively, my preferred method has been the bow. This does require you to make arrows, but it's kinda neat because you have to have those arrows in your offhand in order to actually load them into the bow. Which was a bit confusing in the beginning, because again, there's no tutorial, but after me dying 6 times, I got the hang of it. Luckily, keep inventory is enabled by default, so this means you don't really lose all that much. That being said though, a good way to not die is 1. Not suck, and 2. Eat food. As you might have noticed, there's not really a food meter or hunger bar. That's because Lay of the Land uses a different hunger system than traditional survival games. Instead of punishing you for not eating like an overbearing mother, it rewards you for going out of your way to hunt and cook food, with buffs to health and stamina regeneration.
Yeah, I don't really like hunger systems that much. I'm a pretty big fan of positive reinforcement in game design. I also don't want to force people into having to constantly maintain some arbitrary number. So I think that food giving unique effects is a much better way to get players to engage in those systems than just eating to not die.
Positive stimulation in my survival games, more likely than you think. This is a really good meal we're having so far, talking about food. But I do have some small nitpicks that I want to share before you start buying this. If you're just looking for a complete game with no bugs and no slated changes to existing features, you're not in the right place here. Right now, Thule stated that all major features have been implemented, but are still subject to change. Bringing me to my second nitpick. As I said before, there is no tutorial. Something that he's also aware of, but it can be a little bit frustrating if you have bad luck like me and spawn directly to a bunch of spiders, even if you know what you're supposed to be doing. Then again, implementing a tutorial for a game where everything changes is kinda contradictory. And lastly, it's a Patreon only exclusive. So at the moment, it's a bit finicky to set up, requiring you to download multiple .rar files and an installer.exe file to run. However, these are all just minor quality of life things that get patched out or worked on, especially when the game comes to Steam.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I can't wait to see what people build and all the cool moments that they, post on YouTube. So many people have told me that the game brings them joy or takes them back to their childhood, and I just want to bring all those feelings to as many people as possible. The process of actually setting up the store page on Steam and registering as a developer and everything is super easy. Anyone can do it.
What made you actually pull the trigger on getting it onto Steam?
Yeah, it's basically I wanted to gather momentum, spread the word, get wish lists, and yeah, basically that's it.
You can see the amount of wish lists now, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. it's a lot of pressure.
No pressure, man. Just don't fuck up. So all in all, considering this game is being made by one person and one person alone, spending his time making a cool, neat voxel game, why not give it a chance? And again, these issues can be excused because it's only $5 to get access to the latest build. And yes, it's monthly, but if you just stop paying that month, you still get the game, that version, you just don't get newer updates. And in the month I've been a Patreon, he's updated almost weekly. If that doesn't show passion, I don't know what does. In either case, what if you watch this video and think, well Lunar, I quite would like to make a game like this. What should you take away from Lay of the Land? What should your lesson here be? But you're a solo developer, as mentioned a few times now. There are a lot of people who are solo developers or want to get into gaming development. Is there any advice that you have for them?
I guess I haven't finished anything yet, but my advice would be to work on a project that you actually want to play and that you would actually buy, and one that you can also actually finish in a reasonable amount of time. Scope management is just so important for any project, but especially as a solo developer. Also, have a plan, map out your entire project from start to finish. That's what I've done. And keep track of your process, keep track of how long everything's taking. Your time is the most valuable thing, so you don't want to waste it.
And with that, we've only just scratched the surface. I was Lunar, you were very awesome, and I'll see you in the next one, where we'll be diving into Eastern Europe's most magical land, Poland. Alright, thank you very much for watching this first episode of Scratching the Surface. A massive new direction for the channel, because it's not Minecraft, and I kind of would like to cover some other stuff. If you'd like to support me, you can either become a YouTube Pebble or a patron, both just $1 a month. Both get early access via the Discord and a special chat in that Discord where I'm more active. Patrons also get a full 20 to 30 minute interview in podcast form on the Patreon itself. And if you would just like to have the interview with Thule, you can buy it off the Patreon shop for only $3. Normally it would be $1, but they won't allow me to just charge $1, so I'm sorry. But it's there. If you only want that one, you can buy it. All your support goes to the lovely people who work with me, that being Pax. Thank you, Pax. And of course, my cat, Theo. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on the flip side. If I can ask quickly, I found it a little bit odd. Why is it, was it Blue Cross Studios?
Oh, Southern Cross Interactive.
Southern Cross Interactive.
That's my company that I'll be doing the game through. It's just me, but yeah, that's just the company name. Yeah.
The odd thing is, every time I tried to look that up, I got like really religious stuff.
Yeah, I don't have a website yet or anything. Anything will come up. I have the domain, but I just don't have a website.
That's why I reached out through Twitter, because I couldn't find an email.